You guys are having a good week so far.
Yeah, it is a great week.
Yes, so much has been going on, but we still going to be thankful.
Absolutely.
Oh, sometimes you just have to sit down somewhere and say, you know what, I'm gonna just be thankful for this day. Thankful we just got in the door.
That's what
Not
I
much
heard you
time.
just really quick. I heard you mention something about seminary. That's interesting. Can you
Yes.
talk about that later?
Yeah,
That's
all
awesome.
right, sure. Yes,
Okay.
I also teach the religious studies certificate program courses.
That
So
is so awesome,
fine.
Professor. That's so awesome.
We're trying on it. We're trying to grow it. It's been slow.
Ain't gonna shout up in here, but that makes me feel better, because someone that knows the word,
Yes.
other times, well, I got my take on it. I won't go into church right here, but
No, that's all right.
I can email you sometimes.
Please do. Please do.
Okay.
That's all right. Thank you, Samara.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we're going to get started right here in week 6, where I can't believe it. This November is rolling right along. We're here in no, excuse me, week of November the 9th, week of November the 9th. And so week 6, you have your weekly TED Talk. And I do just want to apologize up. So you'll see that I'm going to start getting caught up on some grades this week. So don't think that I'm ignoring you. So I'm moving slowly with all of the classes, and also your weekly questions. Week 6. So make sure that you take a look at those. Each week we get started on Mondays, and just remember that all of your work is easy to remember that, but all of your work is due on Sunday nights at 11:59. So the end of the evening on Sundays, you know something's due. All right. Um, we are also just want to give you a little forewarning. We will next week start talking about your final project. And your final project, we won't get into it all today, but those people who are watching this video, I do ask if you're able to join us next Thursday, because we're going to talk more about the final project that will be due in December, and then can't talk. And then we'll talk about what it entails, a particular area of interest that you may have. Like some people might be really interested in magazines. Some people are interested in TV, film, radio, whatever it is in terms of mass communication. And I will next week show you some examples of previous students that did some uh, final projects last year, so that you'll have an example of what I'm looking for. That will be on the radar for next class period. Also, just want to give you a little highlight. If you can, if your schedule permits, join us tonight on Facebook at 7 p.m. The Mass Communication Department and Film Department has been working on a film festival this week, and it has just been so awesome. And each evening there have been different guests that have been speaking on our Facebook channel. So if you're able, join us at 7 p.m. on Facebook. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the topic of Afrofuturism. And it's this whole topic of looking into the future and kind of redefining who we are as African Americans. So we're going to examine some shows and movies such as See You Tomorrow. I think that's a Netflix movie. Black Panther, Lovecraft Country, and there's another one. I think it's Raising Dion. But those are the ones that I can remember. And I'll be on the panel as well. So if you guys are able to make it, please join us. Even if you could drop in for just a few minutes. I know how the evening can be. It can be crazy. So, all right. So let me come back to you, and I am going to share our lesson for today. Let's make sure I have it up. And we're going to talk about radio. And I think just my little disclaimer of when we do, those people who are watching, when we do our lessons. The PowerPoint is there for you in your weekly module. We do not go through everything, but I just want to highlight a few things for you. And, it's your responsibility for doing your reading. But also, if you do some of the reading, this is the time, you could ask questions and things like that. So let's talk a little bit more about, let me go back. We're in chapter 5. Oh, let me just stop. Can everybody see the PowerPoint? It should say popular radio.
Yes.
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 Okay. I've been doing that sometimes, and students are like, "What are you talking about?" All right, so we're going to talk about popular radio and origins of it. Now, as we open up this discussion, and I think we've said this before in a previous class, we don't listen to the radio, and I mean radio, the thing, okay, in your car or in your home. We don't listen to the radio the way that we used to listen to it. When growing up, the radio was what we went to listen to music. So we had radio or we had a stereo. You guys don't even know what that is, right?
Right. No, I know.
Oh, Tamara, you know.
Yes. Trust me.
Last week, Tamara, we talked about records.
Right. Right.
And records, and we had different speeds of records. You had a 45, you had a 33 and a third, and you
Right.
and
Right.
it,
I remember, and I do watch your recordings
oh
because
yeah,
I remember going to. I mean, I used to work at the record store, but not as a young adult going into a record store to purchase a 45 or
right.
we would call an album or something like that. Yeah.
Yes. So your albums, and so your music was played over the radio. That's how we would hear, oh, so and so has a new song, or there's a new group out.
Mhm.
Heard it on the radio. You didn't hear it on the internet. There was no internet. There was,
Mhm.
that it just wasn't there. So we're going to talk a little bit more about radio and how we listen to music now. And I think we said this earlier, where a lot of us listen to our music not on a radio anymore, but we have like satellite radio, or we use our phones. We have different apps where we can listen to the music we want to listen to. One of the things that kind of killed radio, and I don't want to say killed radio, but radio stations are still in existence, of course, but radio stations as we knew them had to change, because one of the key things that happened with satellite radio when it came out, we didn't have to listen to, because we paid for satellite radio, we didn't have to listen to the ads. People got tired of listening to a half hour ads,
Mhm.
every other song. And then what happens when we have an ad, we switch to another station. And sometimes you don't come back because they playing your jam over here on that station. You're gonna listen to that for a while. So what radio stations had to do to compete, where sometimes they would say, we're going to have an hour of commercial free radio, so that they know that they could keep people. And look, commercials are the way that they stay in business. So you can never get away from that. But anyway, so we saw things start to change in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, as you saw a lot of radio stations had to catch up with new technology. It wasn't using these antiquated reel to reel things. Everything was going digital. And guess what? A lot of people lost their jobs, because if it's all computer, guess what? We don't need a whole lot of people.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we don't need you might have a producer and an engineer and things like that, but you didn't need all the people that you used to use, because we had a computer basically just playing the music for us. And then the human will come in and talk every so and talk every so often. So let's go all the way back. Let's go back, and we're going to go back in time, and I'm going to got a video I'm going to pull up for you guys, but we're going to talk about radio waves. So the whole thing is, when we turn on our radio, and I've got an actual radio in the back of this room right here. And I was like, oh, I should throw it away. And I was like, no, I'm going to keep it. So there is an antenna. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
Is Jalen on? Who's on? Is
Just
that Jalen?
Jalen and myself.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Jalen,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have a real radio in your house?
No.
See, that's what we're talking about. So there's different. And Jalen, I was going to throw mine away. I was going to throw mine away, and I said, I don't need this anymore. And I said, you know what? I'm going to keep it.
Don't do it, Professor. There are reasons. I just got to find the reasons, but that's another talk show for me. But don't throw
Yeah.
away that radio with that antenna. Don't do it.
No, I got it. I got it. It's in the back right here. And there's a anyway, so let's go right here. So with your radio, or even our cars now, and we don't have the antenna that used to stick up like years and years ago. But if we're getting any type of radio in our cars, there is an antenna that is there. So the antenna is needed to catch the waves, the radio waves. And so two people that I want you to remember is James Maxwell and Heinrich Hertz. And they played around with these theories of there are radio waves that can transmit signals. Isn't that awesome? And this was
Amen.
way back in the 1800s, the mid to late 1800s. And somehow in their brilliant minds, they were able to figure out that these, in the air, there are electromagnetic waves. And these waves, they were called, later called radio waves. And these waves can be captured through an antenna to catch a signal. Now, as we go through here, I want you to see this graphic might be kind of confusing, but every wave, look right here on the black strip. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So every wave, we can't see them, even in the air right now, there are waves going through. We can't see these things. So you have so many different things that are going through the electromagnetic spectrum. You have like aircraft bands, AM radio waves, short wave. You have TV and FM radio waves. Your microwave, we all got microwaves, right? But that has a wave of energy that goes through. Okay. So anyway, you got X-rays. We go to the doctor, we get an X-ray. That all of those are energy or waves that are going through our environment, but they're captured in these particular tools. Okay, so let's keep moving a little bit, and we'll get to our video in just a second. So there are three people that I want you to see, and Marconi is one that I want to highlight real quick. Marconi in England, but he received the first patent to work on this type of wireless telegraph in England, and that was 1896. And Marconi, you're going to see his name come up a little bit later when we start talking about the telegraph. And let me move down one more. Here we go. Anybody seen, what's the movie, The Titanic?
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm going to see if I can pull that up. And there's a particular point. Okay, so right here, remember Marconi, there's a particular point, Lord help, when they're getting information and they're trying to figure out what's happening and what they've hit, and they're sending up a SOS, but they're using signals. There wasn't a telephone per se, but they were using radio signals. So let's talk a little bit, and then we'll go to, I always got to write myself a note because Miss Barry will find out, so we'll forget. So I'm going to pull up that Titanic video for us. So anyway, let's go right here. Let's move a little bit into the 1900s. So you have this, what's happening is now radio is starting to look good. And people are saying, oh, well, this might be something that we could use, but they're not really quite sure how to use it in terms of commercial way like we see it today. So it's getting new. So they start this Radio Act of 1912, and they say, look, if you're going to use this radio signal, you got to have a license. And you got to make sure that you use it the right way. And they also use it, look at this second point right here, that it could be used to send out a distress signal. Okay, so sound like the Titanic movie again. Now remember, radio at this point in the early 1900s is not what we know it today. So it's still very government controlled. Military is using it. And of course, you know, we have World War One and World War II in the early part of the 1900s starts coming through. And of course, radio was definitely needed because they had to communicate, they had to send signals, especially when they were being attacked. So the Navy took control of the radio. And a lot of corporate heads, a lot of government leaders were trying to make sure that they did the best with it. But unfortunately, they conspired to make sure that the radio served their interests. So it's fortunate but unfortunate sometimes um, when you have these new things that come out, lots of folks try to get on it and make it their own. Okay.
Wow.
Unfortunately, we still see that today. Okay, let's scoot down a little bit more and talk about how it's evolving a little bit more into the 1920s. You start to see, I'm gonna scoot all the way down here, and so you'll see, I won't go through everything, but you're gonna start to see now radio is becoming a little bit more commercial. In 1920, you had your first commercial broadcast station, KDKA, and let me go to a video of that. And there's something I want you to see as well, Shamira and Jalen. So KDKA, you see that right there? Now we live in Georgia. And our stations are going to start with W's.
For the call letters, yes.
Right.
I mean, well, yeah.
That's right. That's right. They are call letters. You are correct. And so anything, I think it's anything west of the Mississippi is going to start with a K. And then if you are, no, what is it? West of the Mississippi? And then east, so we're on the east, we're going to start with W's. And so that helped them to kind of understand where people were located. So if we're a K, that's not going to be in our area. We know that's going to be somewhere else. But anyway, you see that now in the 1920s, we got 5 whole radio stations. Ooh. 5 radio stations have been licensed for operation. Ain't that something? Now you can find 5 and more than 5 in one city, and that city can be rural, you know, these days. But up to 1921, there were, 5 radio stations in operation. And remember, at that time now, the radio stations were not great. So you couldn't hear a whole lot. You might hear just a little bit. And I'm gonna scoot down a little bit. And the only type of station that they had at the time was AM. So FM stations were not up and running just yet. Okay, so I'm gonna scoot down and because I want to make sure that I give you guys the main stuff. So I scoot a lot in these PowerPoints. Okay, so let's get here. Remember, we said that when you have any type of industry, to tell you the truth, but we're talking about the radio industry, and you have a new invention, and think about it, y'all. It's the 1920s or so. None of us, none of our families were probably involved, right? But they're seeing that, oh, this can be a moneymaker. This can be powerful. The government is into it. And there has to be some type of regulation, because if not, it's going to bring a lot of chaos. And that's what happened with any type of industry. If nobody regulates it, it's going to be a hot mess. So you have the Radio Act of 1927, and this stated that stations could only license their channels as long as they operated to serve, look at this, the public interest. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
public interest. You can't just be on and charge people and do what you want to do. And that's what a lot of folks were doing. It was a monopoly. It was just all about money. And so the government kind of had to step in and put some more rules in place. Over the years, this wasn't the last one. Over the years, you're going to see several commissions start to come in. Federal Radio Commission, later is now known as the FCC, and that's the Federal Communications Commission. FCC regulates everything that deals with a phone, that deals with, even your cell phone carrier has rules to follow with the FCC. Everything we watch on TV, everything we listen to on radio, satellite radio, um, internet radio. You know, there are certain things, like if you listen to a radio show, let's say a Steve Harvey or something, and every now and again they'll say something, or maybe they might say a cuss word, and they say, "Oh no, I can't say that," because the
Right.
FCC will fine them. You know, so the FCC's job is to regulate and to make sure that things are right. People can't just go on there and just cuss and say all kind of nasty stuff. They're going to be fined because of that.
Or tell, I don't want to say lies, but information that's not true,
Right.
because that's against the FCC's, like you can't just get a like on Twitter, how different people are saying things on Twitter about the elections that's not true.
That's
Twitter
not true.
knows that they gotta get that information, like tell people like, look, they said this, but it's not
Mm,
true, or it hadn't been confirmed, or you can't just go putting out false information. So
that's
yeah.
right. That's right. You can't just go back and go and say all kind of crazy stuff. I'm setting up our video,
Okay.
and they wanted to make sure that people were regulated some type of way. You couldn't just go on. I'm coming back to you guys. You couldn't just go on and just say what you wanted to say. Um, Although some of these folks think that they can, but the FCC is the regulation board that
Mhm.
slap a hefty fine on a TV station, radio station, whatever it is. All right. So let's talk about how radio started to evolve, and then we're going to go to our uh, video. So radio back in the day before any of us were born was really short. So there were only a handful of radio stations that were available. Remember that. And whatever you heard was really scratchy. It was on an AM signal, no FM yet. And here's the thing. So it was entertainment. There was no TV. So when you listen to the radio, one of the cool things about radio is that you can use your imagination. You can imagine in your head how this person looks, or you just have a whole thing on in your head about this song. So it was live music. It wasn't a record all the time because the records weren't like how they were moving in towards like the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. So people would come in and sing live. They would bring their piano or their guitar and sing the song. They had little quiz shows, little dramas, and things like that. And every show had a sponsor. So let's go to, um, oh, okay. And then let me get this real quick, and I'm gonna go to the video. And as you get into the 1930s, and you get some more shows, one of them was Amos and Andy. So let's talk about that, and I'm gonna show you. Okay. Let's go. Oops, sorry. I always forget to share it. And let me share with the audio. So the first video I want to go to is radio entertainment. And I'm going to just click on a few things here.
Morningstar Farms.
It's always
America's favorites made from plants.
that's what you oh, I think okay, I think this is a commercial bed, but that's what you would hear. That's the type of music you would hear. I think this is something that's brought to you by, I think it said Oldsmobile. Let's go to this one right here. Okay, so you see right here, let me let it keep going. So you see right here that these were the actors, and I mean, they would come on in and you see the microphone there, and they would just do what they had to do. It wasn't recorded. Everything now we record. Let me keep going. And sometimes, let me see if we can get an actual one.
Tonight is the most important event in radio broadcasting, the opening of the studios at Radio City in Rockefeller Center.
1930s are regarded as the golden age of radio because a lot of the commercial development had taken place by then. People say the Depression had an impact on that. Not only did we have a lot of radio shows available, but there wasn't a lot of money available to take part in other kinds of entertainment. So we have some marvelous, the news programs, the entertainment programs, basically it all grew to fruition in the 1930s and had a captive home market.
Okay, so that just gives us an idea of what radio looked like back in the day, should we say. Now, this is like the 1920s, 1930s. Now, the next thing I want to transition to is a radio show that I believe started, Amos and Andy, was focused on two black men. And if you had not heard of it, anybody heard of Amos and Andy?
I have heard of Amos and Andy, but I really didn't know what it was about until just recently. But I'd always heard of it. I never knew.
Amos and Andy, I'm gonna play, let's see if we could get a little bit of this radio show. It's always a commercial with YouTube, but we're coming. Okay, here we go.
The makers of the new Rinso bring you the Amos and Andy Show with their guest tonight, Mr. Charles Coburn.
I think this is just the audio.
You're gonna stay here till Monday.
And I'm sorry to keep stopping. Okay, I'm gonna just play a little bit of it, and I want you to just listen. And Amos and Andy was kind of in the 1930s, 1940s, was supposed to represent two Black men. Okay, now let's go.
Hello? What happened?
Something must just happen.
I know. Okay, you there, right, Jalen? You
Okay,
there?
you hear?
Okay.
Yeah, we hear you
something
now.
happened.
Huh?
Something happened. Everything just stopped.
Uh-oh. Okay, hold up. Can you see me?
No, we can still see the YouTube screen.
Okay, let me come back.
See you now.
What about now?
No.
No?
No.
Uh-oh. You can hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you see me?
We cannot see you.
Oh,
We can see
no.
you now. We see you now.
Okay, you see me now?
Yes.
Oh, that's wild. Okay, can you... Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, the YouTube screen is back up.
Okay, thank you. I'm telling you, this thing does crazy things.
Right.
Sorry about that, but thank you for letting me know because it will do weird things. Okay, let me go back. Let me go back. And I'm going to, we listened to one. And here's, can you all see this one?
Yes.
What's the matter, dude?
Yes, ma'am.
It was on my finger a minute ago, and now it's gone. Must have fallen down and
Hold on, the audio's not good on this. It's very low.
the lower tier among all those people.
Oh, that's great. Only 10,000 people down there.
So let's rush out and notify the attendant.
Yeah, that's the first thing to do. A $3,000 ring. Oh, we'll never know where that ring landed. Come on. Well, if these guys strike out, the game's over.
That's Amos and Andy.
Want you to move this stuff, Calhoun? No, thanks, Kingpin. Don't care for no move. He's gonna tee off on this one.
Okay, and then so Amos and Andy transitioned from radio to TV. So if you get a chance, I want you to go back and I'm on YouTube, of course, but I want to see if you can see this. I want to see if you can see this real quick. Okay. Can you see my screen where it says Amos and Andy?
Yes.
All right. Okay. I'm trying to find the right words. Okay. So, Amos and Andy, of course, was not created by Black people. And it was created by white people to make fun of Black people. And I want to also to see, look at the pictures, look at how the men were portrayed, look at their lips, look at their eyes.
Yeah, like Stephen Fetchit or something is what I'm. And I've heard a lot about Amos and Andy, but this is the most information I've ever got. So you're right. I
Yeah.
had no idea.
Yes. So I'm gonna come back to you. Hold on here. Let's go back to our lesson. And with radio program, let me come back to our story here. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, one of the comedies that came through radio was Amos and Andy, but it was very stereotypical. You know, you had these Black characters and they were seen as, shiftless, stupid, slow, and it did create a TV show like the one that we saw, the one I showed you, but it was canceled in 1953, and it was canceled. Now, I just want you to catch something. It started in the 30s, and was able to keep moving even into 1953. But as the nation started to go to move into civil rights movement, and they started to say, well, wait a minute, this isn't the type of portrayal that we want to be known for. But once again, it was not started by us. It was started by white people who thought that
Okay.
this would be a great show. Thought that this would be a great show. Let me keep moving, and there's so much in this chapter that I want to get to, but I know I can't get to all of it. And you guys can get back. There are two more things that I want to show you. It was the Titanic video. That's what it was. The authority of radio. So I want you to see this right here. And let me see if I can find a video. But radio at that time in the 1930s, 1940s, it became a staple in the house. And nobody had a TV yet. Everybody was starting to get a radio. And there was a program that came on called War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds, it came on Halloween Eve in 1938, and it was a radio program, but it was like, in terms of it sounded like a news program, and it was an actual story. It was just a made up story that these aliens or something were attacking, and it actually created panic in New York and New Jersey. So once again, the FCC is like, look, you got to warn people if you're going to do something like that. So many times you will see. Let me go back to War of the Worlds. Many times you will watch TV and you'll see a disclaimer. You'll see a disclaimer, and it will say, the disclaimer could say anything. It could say that this was broadcasted last year, or this was this. So it gives people a warning. Or sometimes we might see a disclaimer where it might say, this is not for kids. This is for adults. Don't have your kids watching it or something like that. Okay. Now, once again, the War of the Worlds was a radio broadcast. It was a show. And when the people heard it, let's go to this one. When the people heard it, they thought it was real.
The Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations present Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the Air in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. We are ready now to take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, where Carl Phillips, our commentator, will interview Professor Richard Pearson, famous astronomer. We take you now to Princeton, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Phillips speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton. I'm standing in a large semicircular room, pitch black except for an oblong slit in the ceiling. Through this opening, I can see a sprinkling of stars that cast a kind of frosty glow over the intricate mechanism of the huge telescope. The ticking sound you hear is the vibration of the clockwork. Professor Pearson stands directly above me on a small platform, peering through the giant lens. Now, we're not more than 25 feet away. Can you hear it now? Professor Pearson?
Yes,
can you tell us the meaning of that scraping noise inside the thing?
possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
What to think? The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial. Not found on this Earth. Friction with the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes in a meteorite. This thing is smooth.
Okay, so you might not be able to hear it really good, but this is a radio broadcast. It's a drama, and the drama is they are interviewing this professor, and they're hearing some kind of strange sounds, right? And they're saying, I don't know what it is. It might be a meteor. It might be, something attacking the Earth, but this is a drama. But imagine these folks in 1938 turn the radio on, even if you turn it on in the middle and you didn't catch the beginning, they think they're being attacked.
Coming out of that black hole through luminous to the eyes, it might be a face, might be almost good heavens, something wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. Now it's another one, and another one, and another one. They look like tentacles to me. Oh, yeah, I can see the thing's body now. It's large as a bear.
Okay, so anyway, if you get a chance to watch or to listen to it, it scared the people. This is 1938, y'all, but it scared the people, and it sent them into a panic because they thought some strange folks from outer space were going to attack them. So that just shows the impact that radio had, or the authority that radio had on people. So they thought that, look, if you hear it on the radio, it's probably going to be true. All right, let's head in here. And I know we got a lot, but let's kind of bring it towards nowadays. And then, okay, so we're moving from the 1940s. We're going to move into the 1950s. And you start to see radio starts to get different formats, different types of radio stations. Then you start to see organization of radio stations where you have producers and you have people using different rotations. They're putting music into rotation. Then you start to hear, you ever hear this word, this top 40? Those were the most popular songs. Then you start to hear top 40 coming into the mix. And in the 1960s, then you start to get more different types of radio stations. You have rock radio stations, you have classical radio stations. And so now, way back when it first started, you didn't have different types of radio stations. Now, as it starts to grow, you have any type of, we can jump on to any type of radio station we want to. All right, and then let's move right here. We have more formats start to grow. Now we have talk radio, nothing but talk. They're just going to talk all day about news and all that stuff, politics. You have country, you have urban, R&B, Spanish radio stations. So, now that's coming into the mix where you don't have to just listen all in English. Classic rock, oldies, okay? And so this little pie graph just shows us, and I'm not sure, I think this is 2016, what we're listening to and how many formats of radio stations we have out there. It's interesting, look, we have 14.4% country, 10% about news, talk, Okay, so we can just keep going around. Classic rock about 6.1. Urban adult contemporary 4.1. Christian contemporary 3.5. So you can just kind of see, look at all of these different types of radio stations that are out there. Sports radio. Okay. All right. And let's talk, we're going to end up right here. We're going to talk about, remember we talked earlier about different ways that we listen to the radio. And so many of us listen now on satellite, like XM, Sirius, Sirius XM. Now, we don't need the actual physical radio anymore, because even what the radio stations have done, and let me flip my screen real quick. And what a lot of radio stations have done is they've recognized that, yes, you can listen to them on a regular one. I'm gonna go to one that I listen to, and you can go to any one of these. And I'm gonna go to Praise 102. You always got a bunch of advertisements. Okay, so what I want you to see past the advertisements is they've got to realize that they have to do different things. So you can listen live. I'm probably missing it somewhere. You can listen live. Is it online? Yeah, okay, here we go. So look at all this mess. So you can, oh, here it is right here. You can listen live right here. So I can listen live on my computer. Will it do it? Let's see.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's gonna do it. I probably need some type of player.
This year, we enjoyed more family time. I love our family. Now tis the season for family
Okay,
gifts.
so you can
And Walmart's
listen.
Black Friday deals for days gives you more days and easier ways to save on awesome gifts for everyone.
I love our family. This is awesome.
Starting.
Okay, so you can listen live. Also, with any type of radio station, not just this one, you can stream it on your phone. So, they'll have a particular way that you can also listen on your phone, on the computer. You can catch them different ways. So radio stations, no matter what it is, no matter what they broadcast, have had to find different ways. Listen to praise on your Alexa. Okay.
Mhm.
People are listening to it so many different ways. So it's not just, I'm gonna jump in the car and listen to this. So the radio stations have said, okay, we've got to meet these people all different ways. If not, we're going to lose our audience. And losing your audience means losing money. Okay. All right. You guys have any questions?
No, I'll still probably go back and watch the recording, just make sure. Yeah, but I mean, I love radio, so this was a fun topic for me. This was a great class for me.
Yes. And Shamara, and even with Jalen, but Shamara, you can see also over your lifetime how radio has changed. And Jalen, you can see how it's different for you in your generation, or for maybe in your parents' generation. And it's really interesting. My goodness, where are we going to be in radio in, let's say, 10 years from now?
Exactly.
Well, honestly, I feel like radio is about. It's about to, like, well, I think radio really just got put on a pause due to the pandemic and everything. Because that also, like, I have a lot of friends that's radio personalities, that's board operators, and they like within from B103, Hot 107.9, Galaxy, and 94.5. They have basically fire, I want to say 70% of their staff on all four major radio stations they post, from what I heard, they supposed to basically be rehiring beginning of the year, but I feel like radio station, commercial radio have lost so much money, so much things because of the pandemic that the if really like on pause for right now.
And not only that, honestly, I mean, I have a lot of people that I know because I've worked in radio as well, and for some tycoons in the industry.
Okay.
I'm just having to reinvent myself, but they really don't even need the personality there. They can track those shows. I mean, the only thing, like you said, Professor, is the advertisements, is how they really make the money, and the live, the going out on the live remotes, and with Radio One here with the hip hop station, that hip hop awards, or the birthday party bash, that was one of their, I mean, those were money makers for them. So yeah, they have lost a lot of money. People are still going to advertise, but for Miss Kathy Hughes and how she became, how I working for a company, a broadcasting company, when she went public, when she was able to finally go to Wall Street, as a major company.
Wow.
It's not, to me, I don't know, and maybe you can help me out, Professor. I don't think that they become, the big industries that they are just by advertisements, but that's who's to say. But they, all of those contests and,
yes.
The pandemic has put a dent, has put a hole in their revenue by all means.
By all means. Yeah,
yes.
Jalen, that's a good point that you bring up. That is a very good point. Radio, well, you know what? Let me just step back. A lot of industries were just hit really hard with COVID-19. So not just radio, right? But hey, we talk about radio. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, when you turn on the radio, the main thing that we're looking for is just some music. And if the person's not there, and so a lot of radio stations had to scramble and allow the the host to somehow be at home, like what we're doing, and talk, and then somebody could still be by themselves, socially distanced by themselves station, and make sure that the computer was programmed and everything, because you could program that from home, and everything was cool in the station. But yes, radio stations get out and about in the community, where you can't get out and about when everybody got to wear a mask, and you can't come in the building, and we are not going to the restaurants, we're not going to the parks, we're not having concerts the way we used to. And that's what a radio station gives the free tickets to the concerts, right?
That's right, Professor.
Yeah, we can't tune in and get the free tickets anymore because nobody's doing a concert. So yeah, Jalen, it has taken a big hit. We look to see how things in the radio industry will bounce back. TV industry kind of took a hit as well, because we didn't have a lot of new programs for a while. It's just kind of coming back, but we shall see how things progress in the future. But I think just like radio try to do just like us and put things on Zoom and put their hosts and things on Zoom and kind of broadcast them in like they were in the station, but they're not really in the station, Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Good point. All right. Well, very good. You guys are already in the know, and we are going to look forward to next week. I'll see you guys same time, same place. And if you are able, join us tonight at 7 on Facebook Live on the AMSC page.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks for
Barry.
sharing.
Take care.
All
You
right,
too as well.
have a good one.
All right, you too.